What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes, but today we are doing our top 5 E5 heroes to be your very first E5 hero you create in the game. When you start out in Idle Heroes, the first hero you bring above 10 star is very, very important. You want this hero to be the one that's going to carry you and help you progress in the game better than any other hero, and these top 5 will do just that. In my opinion, one of the most important things for progress in this game is getting a very high C-Land, potentially C-Land 20 done, and getting lots of 4-star shards every single day. It is the best way to build heroes. You get tons of food, and you get some nice extra bonus heroic shards, which is nice as well. So these 5 heroes will be exactly who you want early game. These are the 5 heroes you want to hunt and find and be your first E5 hero. Out of all of them, I would say whoever you manage to start getting copies of first, definitely build that hero. We'll go through each one of them, tell you the positives and the negatives for each one, let you decide on who you like the most, and let's jump right into it. Number 5. Coming in at number 5 to start off our list, we have our Abyss Ranger hero, Kouga. So Kouga, he could be placed higher in this list, but we'll go over a few reasons why I kind of put him at the very bottom of our top 5 first E5 heroes to build. First off, let's start with the most important part that we will talk about for any of the heroes in this list, and that is his C-Land viability. So we gave him a 4 out of 5, mainly because solo, he can get you to about 16, 17 pretty easily. He can push you up to C-Land 18 as well, but he does require a bunch of 6-star destroyers or other support heroes to go further. He is kind of good for 19 and 20 if you build some other heroes with him as well, but overall we're talking about how far can this hero get solo as your only E5, and he can get you pretty far. So that's not too bad. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes, you guys haven't checked out the videos on our channel for our royalty meme team, you got to go watch that series right now. Kouga can get you to Death 1 easily. It just takes a little bit of RNG. Make sure you don't come across any of those vessel waves in Hell 50 plus, but you can get to Death. And he does have viability further in Death as a certain node breaker. He does really good against some dot heroes, things like that. So overall, Aspen Dungeon, 5 out of 5. He is one of the best heroes you can have to get Aspen Dungeon progression. When we jump over to PvE damage though, this is where he really hurts compared to everybody else on this top 5 list. He can be decent early game. Of course, you need to build him tanky most of the time in slot 1. You want him getting hit constantly. But the downside of him is A, his damage doesn't compare to everybody else on this list. And he does have anti-synergy with other heroes. So if you're looking to build heroes like Nakia, Ithaca, things like that, you are actually going to hurt your overall damage, because Kouga's active will remove all burns and bleeds on the target, which means normally those burns and bleeds will do more damage if you let them tick over their duration compared to what his active will actually do in damage, because his active is limited to a certain percentage of his attack. So most of the times he is anti-synergistic with other burn and bleed heroes. So make sure you're not going to build any of those other heroes if you pick Kouga. And of course, PvP viability. Gave him a 4 out of 5, mainly because early and mid game, he can be a pretty solid hero on your team. He can solo a bunch of things like Brave Trials. Very, very easy hero to get through that. He does decent in tower as well, which tower's pretty much PvP on top of that. But yeah, he does fall off when you get towards the late game, and then of course in endgame PvP he is non-existent. So you got to remember, these are all for early game stats. A lot of these he will fall off in PvE pretty quickly, and then PvP he will drop off as well as you get further in the game. Number 4. Next up on the list is our girl Garuda, one of the newer heroes on this list, and she is absolutely amazing. Let's jump into her C-Land first, because as you see, it is one of her worst statistics. She only gets a 3 out of 5 in my opinion, because solo forest is pretty difficult. There's a lot of big AoE hits. and she does suffer in the later rounds. So usually Garuda can get you to like Sealand 15 or maybe 16 solo with some support 10 stars. Overall, though, she's not going to compare to just about everybody else on this list, but she does have many other pluses that are way better than everybody else on this top 5. But Sealand, it is a 3 if you do decide to build a Garuda as your first E5 hero. I would highly recommend building a second E5 Garuda right afterwards, because if you do build 2 E5 Garuda with some 10-star support heroes like Grus, Roses, things like that, you can get to Sealand 19 and 20, which will be amazing. But again, the reason why she gets to 3 is because we're talking about how viable is this hero as your first solo E5 hero in Sealand. So if you do decide to go with Garuda, which she is an excellent choice, make sure you decide to make possibly more forest heroes right afterwards. It will help you so much. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes, she is kind of a hit or miss. She can definitely get you to Hell 50. I have seen some people actually say this hero got them to Death 1. I've never been able to do it myself, but she does work well as a node breaker on some waves that some of the more sustainable heroes in Aspen Dungeon can't beat, like the Vessel waves, things like that. So she does have her positives. Overall, though, if you're looking for a hero to get you to Hell 50 at least just for those smashes and all that loot every week, she's a good choice. Definitely a good choice. As far as PvE damage goes, she is a 5 out of 5. She is probably like a 6 out of 5. She is one of the 2 highest damage dealing solo heroes in the game when it comes to PvE. Probably Russell is the only one that's on her level of playing field right now. She can do absolutely crazy damage numbers. As your only E5 damage dealer with 5 support heroes, she is amazing. She will help you early game, late game, and end game PvE. She is a god tier unit. When we come over to PvP as well, 5 out of 5. Out of the heroes on this list, probably a 6 out of 5. Because she is the only hero on this list that I can confidently say is also in the end game of PvP. So if you build Garuda, you will use her from day 1 to forever in PvP. At least for right now. But I honestly don't see that changing. She can be really strong early game with her little passive pings, plus she heals whenever somebody on the battlefield dies, which makes her very, very strong. Even if you pair her with just 5-star heroes and she is your only strong hero, she will continue to heal up, continue to use her passive damage, and her active will just one-shot people. So out of this whole list, if you're looking for a hero that can definitely do PvP in the long run, Garuda is the girl for you. Number 3. Next up on the list, we have our crazy Birdman that we all love, and that is Horace, the warrior of the Shadow faction. So he has been, for the longest time, one of the best heroes in Sealand to have as your first E5. We give him a 4 out of 5 because he maxes out at Sealand 17 to 18. So you can't really push that much further past 18 with your Horace, but he has the easiest time out of any hero on this list getting to 18. So if Sealand 20 is not your direct priority, but you want to get a very high Sealand, Horace is the man for you. He will get you to 17, 18 with no other heroes except 3 stars and 5-star heroes. He is amazing. So he definitely gets a 4 out of 5. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes as well, he is extremely strong. He does have some struggles against healer waves, things like that. Pairing with Garuda could be really good for that node breaking. But by himself, solo, he should be able to get you to Hell 50 pretty easily. I have seen people get him to Death 1 with some luck. He does better against the 4-person waves. Where he struggles is when he gets a healer on a solo wave in Aspen, so that is why he does struggle. I give him a 4 out of 5 because any hero that can potentially get you to Hell 50, in my opinion, is a 4 out of 5. As far as PvE damage goes, he's one of the strongest out there early game, and into the late game, he still does pretty good, and is an amazing tank hero if you need him. against some waves like, you know, Berea or something like that. So he does do some really, really good sustained damage in PvE. The way he does the most damage is by getting hit the most in slot 1. If you are against enemies who do not target slot 1, his damage will fall significantly. So definitely keep that in mind when you are building him for PvE. As far as PvP viability go, he's probably one of the worst in this top 5. Still decent, but he does not compare to the Kougas and the Garudas and the other ones on this list. He can be a nice tanky hero. He can be decent in the early and mid game, but once you get towards the late game and potentially end game, you are probably going to consider regressing Horace for PvP. There are better PvE damage dealers out there. There are much better PvP heroes. But if you're looking for someone to get you really quick progress in Sealand, decent PvE damage, decent Aspen Dungeon performance, and can do okay in PvP, then Horace is your man. Number 2. Number 2 on this list is one of the newest heroes in the game, and that is Delacium, the Abyss Mage. So he can be absolutely broken, and he was borderline my number 1 pick for this list as your first E5 hero, but there are some downsides, whereas the number 1 has a few more upsides overall. But as far as Sealand goes, Delacium can do Sealand 20 with just himself being E5 and support heroes to put debuffs and stuns on the enemies. So he is by far probably the best. He can do Sealand 20 with the least out of the 4 main factions that you're going to aim for to make your first E5 hero. He is amazing, and he also has a lot of uses in PvE once you're done with Sealand as well. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes, he is not really that great. He synergizes well with other heroes, and in a, you know, type of the game where you're the only hero in the fight, he does struggle. He has some burst damage. He doesn't really have any sustain, which is why I give him a 3 out of 5. I would say he could probably get you to Hell 1. I'm pretty skeptical if he can actually get you to Hell 50. There's not been many tests on that, so if you do know, let me know, guys. You know, be my eyes and ears out in that field. But as far as PvE damage goes, early game, I would give him, the reason why I give him 3/5 is because early game, he's probably more like a 3 as far as PvE damage goes. He does require certain heroes and dot bleeders to make him the overpowered hero that he is. But once you get to late and endgame PvE, you get an Ithaca, you get a Nakia, you get some hero that does some crazy good burn or bleed damage. Delacium is going to become overpowered. And having 2 to 3 Delacium is the best lineup in the game for PvE. If you have 3 Delacium, an Ithaca, a Heart Watcher, and some sort of burn or bleed target or a Drake, you will do hundreds of billions of damage in PvE. So that's kind of why I give him a 3 for early game, 5 for late game, because he is one of the most important PvE heroes if you want to go after those really crazy damage numbers. Lastly, we have the PvP viability. Not the best hero, especially out of these top 5. I would say he is the worst, requires the most support built around him. He gets a 3. His skill set just doesn't scream PvP, but PvE, he is a monster, and he is by far the best solo Sealand 20 hero in the game. So he comes in at number 2. And our number 1. Lastly, but certainly not least, actually the exact opposite. She is the best out of the top 5 first E5 heroes, and that is Penny, the ranger from the Fortress faction. So she is by far, in my opinion, the most well-rounded early and mid-game hero you will see in this list, with good viability even into the late game. Endgame, not so much. But let's start with Sealand. Definite 5 out of 5. She can get Sealand 20 done with a bunch of 10-star support heroes and a couple low-star Valentinos as well. So much of it relies on crit damage, so of course, Penny has always been a struggle. You can go look on our channel a bunch and see all the Sealand Fortress clears that we have. She is a tough one to crit, but when she crits, she does some crazy damage numbers, pulls some impossible feats, and is why she gets 5 out of 5 on Sealand, because she can get 20 done just like that. As far as Aspen Dungeon goes, she is by far the best on this entire list. She can one-shot so many waves in Aspen Dungeon. She can get to death 1. She can help you push to death 50. She is absolutely amazing. As far as PvE damage goes, she gets a 4 out of 5 overall in my opinion. She can do some solid early game PvE damage for you. Some decent mid game. Once you get towards the end game though, you will be sitting your penny eventually, because she does fall off compared to the Russell, the Garudas, the Delacium armies with the Ithaquas. But overall, 4 out of 5. She can carry you into the end game nicely. You will probably have her on your team for a long time. When it comes to PvP viability, she is one of the better ones early, mid game, and late game. She does fall off in the end game. She still has some viability on certain teams, and it really depends on who the other heroes are in the meta. If you don't see Amun-Ra's, she can actually still be very good because she does not need actives, so carries don't really bother her as much. She can still do huge damage. She has a reflect armor. She has her ability to not be CC'd, so she is really great. Early game, she will one-shot teams. She will do amazing in Brave Trial, in Tower of Oblivion. She does great in the mid game. End game is where she starts falling off a little, but can still be very viable. And then end game, she does drop off. But because of these stats, 5 in Sealand, 5 in Aspen Dungeon, amazing. She's a god tier hero in both of those. PvE, she does fall off, but can do good damage. And PvP early game, she will carry you very well. So that is why I believe Penny is the #1 E5 hero. Plus, you got to remember, she's in things like Brave Trial chests. There's a lot of easy ways to get Penny. She is very good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think about this top 5, and I'll see you guys next time.
How careless we could be.